In the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, at approximately 27.17 degrees north and 78.04 degrees east, stands a structure of almost incomprehensible familiarity. It is the subject of an estimated 1 billion photographs, a monument visited by up to 8 million people annually. And yet, it remains one of the most significant architectural black boxes on the planet. This is not a story about the Taj Mahal you think you know. It's a story about the parts you are forbidden to see. Beneath the pristine marble platform, along the Yamuna riverfront, lies a long corridor with a series of 22 arches, each one bricked up and sealed by government order. This is not speculation. These sealed doorways are a documented architectural feature. The official explanation from the Archaeological Survey of India, or ASI, is straightforward. The rooms were sealed to preserve the structural integrity of the monument. A simple, pragmatic, and entirely plausible answer. It is also an answer that has failed to satisfy anyone. The controversy stems from a persistent alternative history, one that has resulted in formal legal petitions to the Allahabad High Court demanding the ASI open the rooms for forensic examination. The court dismissed the petition in 2022, citing the issue as a matter for historians, not judges. So we are left with a statistical anomaly. One of the most researched buildings in human history contains a significant number of sealed, uninvestigated chambers, and the academic and governmental consensus is to leave them shut. For a building intended as an eternal public declaration, it keeps a surprising number of secrets. But what happens when the mystery isn't a sealed room inside a known location, but a location that itself seems to have been systematically erased from every known map? In the remote alpine biome of Uttarakhand, near the theoretical coordinates of 30.5 degrees north and 79.5 degrees east, we find the ultimate cartographic paradox. A place meticulously described in certain historical texts, yet completely absent from every survey, satellite image, and geological map ever produced. This is the problem of Gyanganj. The name translates from Sanskrit as the treasury of knowledge, and for at least 2 centuries, it has been the subject of intense esoteric speculation. It is described not as a ruin, but as a living city-state of enlightened, possibly immortal beings, shielded from the outside world by a precise, scientifically applied illusion. Unlike the Taj Mahal's sealed rooms, which are a physical, verifiable mystery, Gyanganj is a verifiable absence, a data void. Accounts from 19th century mystics like Trailangaswami and later popularized in the West by the Theosophical Society do not describe a fantasy land. They describe a functioning society with advanced knowledge of physics, consciousness, and energy, existing in a pocket of warped spacetime. Modern high-resolution satellite platforms like those from Maxar Technologies have imaged this region of the Himalayas down to a resolution of 30 centimeters. Statistically, an unmapped settlement of the size described is an impossibility. And yet the legend itself provides the counter-argument that it is deliberately cloaked from any form of mechanical or electronic observation. The mystery, then, is not whether a city exists. The mystery is why a legend would evolve with a built-in, unfalsifiable defense against empirical evidence. It is a perfect, self-perpetuating information loop. From a location that cannot be found, we now turn to one that was, and then, in a single night, was not. A place whose entire population vanished, leaving behind a chillingly intact ghost town. In the arid Thar Desert of Rajasthan, at approximately 26.85 degrees north and 70.79 degrees east, lies the ghost town of Kuldhara. Where Gyanganj presents a void on the map, Kuldhara presents a void in the census. The location is fixed, the architecture is real, but the population is a statistical anomaly that drops to 0 around the year 1825. For 5 centuries, this town and 83 surrounding villages were home to the Paliwal Brahmins, a community renowned for their economic acumen and sophisticated grasp of water harvesting in a hyper-arid environment. Then, over a short period, the entire population abandoned their homes. The established narrative points to the tyranny of a local minister, Salim Singh, whose exorbitant taxes and predatory intentions supposedly triggered the mass exodus. But this explanation, while convenient, crumbles under logistical scrutiny. The coordinated and silent evacuation of 84 separate settlements in an era without modern communication is a tactical marvel. Archaeological surveys confirm a hasty departure, but not a panicked one. More importantly, while the Paliwals did not vanish and their communities resettled elsewhere, there is no historical record detailing the logistics of this specific exodus. The event itself, not the people, is what vanished from the record. If you find this forensic deconstruction of historical voids compelling, consider subscribing. Our investigation only deepens from here. Kuldara is not a ghost story. It is a logistical enigma on an unprecedented scale. The real mystery is not the curse they supposedly left behind, but the flawless, undocumented execution of their departure. This act of collective, silent withdrawal begs the question: what other organized groups have operated, and perhaps still operate, in total secrecy? A question that leads us directly to an emperor's 2,000-year-old legacy of deliberate, weaponized silence. The principle of organized secrecy has a far older, more imperial precedent, originating around 20.95 degrees north, 85.09 degrees east in what is now Odisha. Here, in 261 BCE, the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka waged the Kalinga War. The conflict was a tactical success and a demographic catastrophe, resulting in an estimated 100,000 combatant and civilian deaths. In the aftermath, confronted with this industrial-scale slaughter, Ashoka reportedly established a protocol not to destroy dangerous knowledge, but to classify and contain it. This is the origin legend of the Nine Unknown, a secret society tasked with guarding 9 books of knowledge deemed too volatile for humanity. The subjects are a catalog of strategic anxieties, psychological warfare, physiology including touch-based assassination, microbiology, alchemy, communication including extraterrestrial contact, anti-gravity, cosmology, the nature of light, and sociology. There is no direct historical evidence for their existence, a detail often cited as the society's primary design feature. Unlike Ashoka's public edicts carved in stone, the Nine Unknown represent his unwritten, secret doctrine. The legend's modern persistence owes less to verifiable ancient texts and more to its popularization by author Talbot Mundy in 1923. It functions as a thought experiment in information control. The question is not whether 9 individuals are guarding scrolls, but whether the legend itself is a self-perpetuating mechanism to discourage certain lines of scientific inquiry by suggesting they are already controlled and weaponized. In the Chamoli district of Uttarakhand, at approximately 30.26 degrees north, 79.72 degrees east, lies a secret not guarded by men, but by ice. While the legend of the Nine Unknown represents a theoretical framework for containing dangerous knowledge, Rupkund Lake presents a physical archive of an event so strange, its data only deepens the mystery. Located at an altitude of 5,029 meters, the site first entered official records in 1942 when a forest ranger discovered its banks littered with human skeletons. For decades, the explanation was a tidy, single catastrophe, a 9th century king and his entourage, caught in a freak hailstorm of mythic proportions. A convenient local legend that accounted for the estimated 500 to 800 bodies and the unhealed fractures found on many of the skulls. This narrative held for over 70 years. Then, a 2019 genomic study analyzed the DNA of 38 individuals and shattered the entire premise. The results were statistically confounding. The skeletons were not from a single event. One group, of South Asian ancestry, were deposited there over a span of 300 years, between the 7th and 10th centuries. But a second, distinct group rewrote the anomaly entirely. 14 of the skeletons, nearly 40% of the sample, possessed genetic markers consistent with individuals from the Eastern Mediterranean, possibly Greece or Crete. Isotope analysis confirmed a different diet, one lacking the millet common to the Himalayas. More perplexing, carbon dating placed their deaths sometime between the 17th and 20th centuries, 1,000 years after the first group. There is no historical record, no colonial survey, no expedition log that accounts for a party of Mediterraneans perishing in this remote alpine bowl in the last few hundred years. They are a demographic ghost. Rupkund is no longer a simple case of a pilgrimage gone wrong. It is a multi-century, multi-continental cold case, frozen at 16,500 feet. The question is no longer just how they died, but what a group of 19th century Europeans were doing at a place so remote, it remained undiscovered by the outside world until the Second World War. In the state of Kerala, at approximately 11.13 degrees north and 75.90 degrees east, the village of Kodini presents a contemporary biological puzzle. The global average for twin births is approximately 6 per 1,000, and India's national average is around 9 per 1,000. In Kodini, a community of about 2,000 families, the recorded rate is at least 45 per 1,000 births, more than 7 times the global mean. Within its population, the village has officially registered over 400 pairs of twins, and the phenomenon appears to have accelerated over the last 3 generations. Investigations by institutions, including India's Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, initially explored a genetic cause, such as a recessive gene within an endogamous community, but the data did not support this hypothesis. The high incidence is dominated by dizygotic or fraternal twins, which indicates a high rate of hyperovulation among the female population rather than the splitting of a single zygote. Evidence points toward an environmental factor, as women who marry into the Kodini community experience the same high twinning rate, while women from the village who move away see their rates return to the average. Researchers have analyzed the local water, soil, and diet. Staples like yams and cassava contain phytoestrogens known to affect ovulation, but these foods are common throughout Kerala, where the twinning rate is not elevated. Currently, Kodini remains a statistical outlier, a localized and ongoing biological event for which no specific variable has been proven to account for the deviation. While the Kodini proliferation remains a puzzle of unaccounted-for biological variables, some mysteries present a far more tangible problem. They are simply locked behind several hundred tons of rock, 25.03 degrees north and 85.42 degrees east. The Sunbundar Caves of Rajgir represent an exercise in ancient security. The name translates to treasury of gold, and local legend attributes the vault to the wealth of King Bimbisara. However, the cave's architectural style suggests a Mauryan period origin, likely from the 3rd or 4th century BCE. The primary chamber is a feat of engineering, carved directly from a single monolith, with a distinctive trapezoidal doorway characteristic of the Mauryan era. This doorway, however, is not a doorway. It is a seal. Analysis of the structure suggests it was designed to be permanently inaccessible after being filled. The key, according to folklore, is an inscription in the undeciphered Sankalipi script etched beside the entrance. This script, found across the subcontinent, has resisted all attempts at translation, making the legend of it being a magical password a persistent, if improbable, narrative. In the late 19th century, British colonial administrators attempted to verify the legend of the treasure. Their solution was less cryptographic and more concussive. They fired a cannon at the sealed entrance. The effort failed, leaving only a dark, concave scar on the rock face that is still visible today. The primary chamber remains unbreached. Complicating the Mauryan theory is the adjacent cave, which contains polished Jain sculptures from a much later period and an inscription crediting its creation to a Jain monk named Vairadeva. Whether this applies to one cave or both remains a source of academic dispute. The Sunbundar is therefore not just a physical vault, but a chronological one, a sealed context from an empire whose full material record is still largely incomplete. While some mysteries are a matter of human engineering, a locked box waiting for a key, others are a matter of natural programming gone awry. In the Dima Hasao district of Assam, at approximately 25.23 degrees north and 92.93 degrees east, the village of Jatinga hosts a behavioral anomaly that challenges our understanding of animal instinct. This is not a static puzzle carved in stone, but a recurring event, a chronological trap that springs every year. Between September and November, on moonless, foggy nights from 7 to 10 p.m., a specific set of atmospheric conditions align. High humidity, coupled with winds moving from the southwest, creates a disorienting environment. During this precise window, at least 44 species of local diurnal birds, species that are active during the day, exhibit a severe behavioral deviation. They appear to fly en masse towards the lights of the village, becoming dazed and vulnerable. Popularly mislabeled as mass suicide, the phenomenon is a complex case of mass disorientation. The prevailing hypothesis suggests that these birds, which are not migratory but are likely moving between valleys for roosting, are caught in adverse weather. Disoriented by the fog and high-velocity winds at altitude, they become attracted to the village lights as the only stable visual reference point, an example of extreme phototaxis. Ornithological studies, beginning in earnest in the 1950s, have systematically documented the event, dispelling supernatural claims but deepening the ecological questions. It is a perfect storm where geography, meteorology, and biology intersect, turning a small ridge in Assam into one of the world's most peculiar and predictable ecological traps. The mystery is not why the birds die, but why their ingrained survival mechanisms fail so catastrophically in this one specific location.